Burkina Faso stood at a turning point. For decades, foreign mining companies had drained its resources with little benefit to the people. Gold, zinc, and rare earth minerals flowed out of the country, but schools remained broken, hospitals underfunded, and rural communities forgotten. It was a bitter truth that many knew but were too afraid to say aloud. That changed the moment Captain Ibrahim Traoré came to power. Young, defiant, and unafraid of consequence, he began a bold transformation. His first decree? A complete audit of all foreign mining operations. Then came the tax reforms, massive levies on companies that had long paid next to nothing. He demanded back payments, environmental cleanup, and transparency. Within months, some of the most powerful multinationals began to collapse under the pressure. To many in Burkina Faso, Traoré became a symbol of hope. But to others, especially those who had benefited from the old system, he became a threat. Silent meetings were held in hotel suites. Wealthy executives called in favors. Shadowy figures landed at Ouagadougou airport under the cover of darkness. Whispers of plots became louder. Something was coming. At the center of it all was a man most overlooked, Traoré's personal chef. Always smiling, quiet, and precise. A man who had cooked for presidents and generals. But behind his apron was a heart darkened by greed. Foreign mercenaries approached him with an offer. A simple task: add something tasteless, odorless to a specific dish. A dish prepared for a special day. In return, he would be paid more than he could ever earn in a lifetime. He hesitated, but not for long. The chef agreed. He knew that Traoré's daughter's birthday was a private affair, held inside the presidential residence. Only trusted staff would be allowed near the kitchen. Security would be tight, but he was already inside. It was the perfect moment. But one weak link remained: the driver. He knew the chef's routines. He had access to the pantry. The mercenaries paid him too, sealing the conspiracy. Their instructions were clear. No mistakes. No traces. As the birthday neared, the trap was set. Traoré had no idea that the very people he saw every morning, the ones who greeted him with respect, were planning to end his life. They watched him with calm faces and quiet nods. But their hearts were racing. One wrong move, and it would all fall apart. Yet, unknown to them, something else was stirring far away. A force they could not bribe or control. A woman who lived beyond the edge of the city. No one really knew her name, but in every village there were stories of a witch with the power to see through time, to walk through dreams, and to stop death in its tracks. And just as the final preparations were being made, she stirred from her sleep, eyes wide, heart pounding. She had seen it. Something terrible was coming. And she had to act before it was too late. The chef was calm on the outside, but every passing day made him sweat beneath his white uniform. The mercenaries had delivered a small vial wrapped in a sealed envelope. Inside the vial was a slow-acting poison, undetectable, tasteless, and effective within minutes. It would appear like a natural heart failure. No autopsy, no questions. Just a tragic coincidence on a day meant for joy. The driver was the key to securing the poison. He sneaked it into the chef's quarters under the cover of night, wrapped inside a box of imported spices. No one noticed. No one suspected. They both had served the president for years. Trust was their armor. They planned to use the poison in the dish specially prepared for Traoré during the birthday celebration. A golden rice stew, his favorite, garnished with herbs and smoked beef. It would be made fresh in the morning, just hours before the event. The chef rehearsed the process over and over. The mercenaries had warned him, one mistake, and he would not live to see another day. They had eyes on him and on his family. His fate was sealed. What drove the chef to betrayal? Maybe greed, maybe fear. But for the driver, it was jealousy. He had watched Traoré rise from an unknown soldier to a national hero. The loyalty of the people, the love of his wife, the power he wielded, it all stirred something bitter inside the driver's chest. With the plan set, they continued their duties like nothing had changed. The chef smiled as he served tea. The driver joked as he held open the car door. But beneath their grins were sharp blades waiting to strike. The foreign mercenaries had long left the country, confident their trap would close without a hitch. They knew Traoré had angered powerful forces. He had disrupted decades of exploitation. The collapse of the mining companies had rippled across the continent. Investors were furious. Hidden hands were desperate. Yet as their plan moved forward, something strange began to happen. Strange dreams visited the night like shadows. Whispers in the wind, eerie chills during warm afternoons, and sudden headaches that lasted for seconds then disappeared. And then just before dawn one day, Traoré sat up in bed, gasping. He had seen something he couldn't explain. A woman, old, wrinkled, and barefoot, stood in his dreams surrounded by flames. She pointed at him with eyes that glowed like fire and screamed the same words over and over again. "Do not eat in your house for 7 days." He woke up sweating, chest pounding. The room was silent. He looked around in confusion. There were no flames, no old woman, just his wife sleeping peacefully beside him. But her eyes opened slowly. She had seen her too. The silence between them was heavy. Traoré looked into his wife's eyes, unsure if he should speak first. But before he could say a word, she whispered, "Did you see her?" His heart skipped. He sat upright. "The woman?" She nodded slowly. "In the dream," she said, "you must not eat in this house. Not for 7 days." Traoré's mind raced. This was no ordinary dream. He was a soldier, a realist. He had no time for superstition. But when two people share the same dream, something deeper is at play. "Who is she?" he asked. "I don't know," his wife replied, "but I could feel her power." She wasn't asking. She was warning. Traoré stood and walked to the window. The morning sun was just rising, casting golden light over the presidential compound. Guards were already patrolling. Staff were preparing for the celebration. His daughter's birthday was in 3 days. "How do I not eat during her birthday?" he muttered. "Dignitaries are flying in from other countries. We've prepared this for weeks." His wife joined him by the window. "Then don't eat the food from here. Eat only what we prepare together. In secret." He looked at her, surprised. "You believe this?" She nodded. "I believe something is trying to protect you." For the first time in a long while, Traoré felt uneasy. Not from fear of assassination or political rivals, but from the unknown. Who was this woman that walked into their dreams? What kind of power could reach two minds at once? He remembered the way she looked. Old and bent, but commanding. Her voice wasn't human. It echoed like thunder inside his skull. The memory made him shiver. That day, he quietly ordered the kitchen to limit what he was served. He claimed he was fasting for spiritual focus. No one questioned him. His wife handled the rest. She started cooking her own meals behind closed doors and watched over every ingredient with hawk-like focus. Traoré continued with official duties as if everything was normal. Smiles in public. Meetings in private. But inside, he waited. Waited for something to happen. Waited for the next piece of the mystery to fall in place. The chef noticed his reduced appetite. So did the driver. They exchanged worried glances but said nothing. Their day was coming. The poison had already been tested. One bite would be enough. As the birthday drew closer, so did the pressure. The foreign guests were already arriving. The residence was being decorated. His daughter was excited. Musicians were booked. The event was to be a celebration of unity, peace, and a new Burkina Faso. But beneath the music and laughter, a storm was brewing. And in a small hut on the edge of the forest, the witch was preparing to walk into the lion's den. The presidential compound had never been more alive. Soldiers in polished boots stood at every corner. Red carpets were being rolled out. Guests were escorted with honor. Flags from neighboring African nations fluttered in the breeze. It was a celebration of family, unity, and political stability. But only Traoré and his wife knew that something was off. Despite the vibrant mood, there was a quiet unease that clung to the day. Every time a dish was carried from the kitchen, Traoré's eyes followed it. He smiled at guests, took pictures with children, but his heart remained heavy. He had not eaten since the dream. Each night he secretly consumed only what his wife prepared. And even that he first fed to their cat. Traoré's daughter wore a white dress, dancing around the garden as music played. Foreign diplomats laughed, clinked glasses, and exchanged pleasantries. But in the crowd, a pair of watchful eyes stood out, eyes that glowed with an ancient fire. The witch had arrived. No one knew how she entered. The invitation list had been tightly controlled. Security was strict. Every guest had to pass through at least 3 checkpoints. Yet, there she was, standing near the floral archway, her rough sandals covered in dust, her dress torn at the edges. Guards moved towards her, alarmed. "Madam, this is a restricted." Traoré saw her and raised a hand. "Let her come." The guards paused, confused. "She's with me," he said, though he wasn't even sure what that meant. The witch moved through the crowd like smoke, unnoticed by many, but deeply unsettling to those who did see her. Guests whispered, "Who is she? Why was she allowed near the president?" She reached him and stood silently. Her eyes stared deep into his, and in that gaze, Traoré saw everything: war, betrayal, sorrow, fire. She handed him a folded piece of paper and turned without saying a word. Within moments, she was gone. Traoré opened the paper slowly. Inside it, wrapped like a precious artifact, was a ring. It was old, made of stone and copper, with a dark red gem at its center. Beside it, written in a language he almost didn't recognize, were instructions. Instructions that warned of poisoned food. Instructions that spoke of visions and truth. He was still reading when his wife appeared, breathless. "I saw her again," she said. "I was asleep just now. She came to me. She showed me how to wear the ring. You must put it on before you touch any food." Traoré looked into her eyes and saw no doubt. He slipped the ring onto his finger. And then the food was brought before him. The golden platter was placed before him, steaming with aroma and surrounded by soft applause from guests. It was the main course, his favorite dish, the one the chef had prepared personally. Traoré stared at it, then at the guests watching him. Cameras were poised. Dignitaries raised their glasses. His daughter beamed with joy. It was her day. He glanced at the ring. The moment his hand hovered near the plate, the stone on the ring began to flicker with a faint red glow. Within seconds, a thin trail of smoke began to curl from the gem, like incense rising into the sky. Gasps came from those nearby. The ring grew warmer. His wife grabbed his hand. "It's real. It's working." The guards stepped forward, alarmed. Traoré raised his other hand to hold them back. All eyes were now on him. Silence settled like a shroud over the celebration. And then it happened. The ring's stone lit with a blinding flash. Traoré's vision shifted. Around him, the world slowed. In front of him, like a dream unfolding in reality, images appeared in the air. He saw the chef, late at night, pouring the vial into the food. He saw the driver handing him the container. He saw a suitcase of money change hands in a dusty warehouse outside the city. Everything became clear. The guests saw nothing, but Traoré stood frozen, eyes wide, watching the betrayal unfold like a spirit's confession. The ring had not only warned, it had revealed the truth. He turned to his wife, whose face was pale. "It's them. The chef and the driver." She said nothing, only nodded. She had feared this moment. Now it was real. The president stood and raised both hands. "Let the celebration pause," he said calmly, but with a thunder in his voice. "I need to speak to my chef. And my driver." The chef was in the kitchen when the guards arrived. He had just finished plating dessert, humming to himself, when a hand grabbed his shoulder. He turned, startled, and came face to face with 2 armed officers. "His Excellency requests your presence," one of them said coldly. The chef's smile faltered. His legs weakened. Now. The driver was intercepted in the parking bay. He was leaning on the presidential car, scrolling through his phone. When the guards came for him, he didn't resist. He only blinked in confusion, then followed. Both men were brought to a quiet corner of the compound, away from the guests. There stood Traoré, still wearing the ring, still surrounded by his top officers. "I know what you did," he said, eyes locked onto the chef. The chef's lips trembled. "Excellency, No lies. The ring showed me. I saw you both. In the kitchen. In the warehouse. taking money, pouring poison. The driver's face drained of color. "No, sir, I swear." Traoré raised a hand. "Do not swear before the spirits. They saw it all." The guards stepped forward. "Shall we detain them?" The president nodded. "Take them. Alive." As the guards moved, the chef fell to his knees, sobbing. "They threatened my family. I didn't want to, please." "You chose silver over loyalty," Traoré said, "and endangered my child's life." That hit the chef harder than a slap. He broke down, shaking, as the driver turned silent like stone. Neither man resisted further. The celebration resumed, but the mood had changed. Word spread quickly, even without details. People whispered. Something had gone wrong, and the president had acted swiftly. Inside his quarters that night, Traoré placed the ring on a silk cloth. His wife sat beside him, holding their daughter, unaware how close they had come to disaster. The arrests made headlines the next day, but the official reason was kept vague. The public was told there had been a breach in internal security. No mention of poison, no talk of dreams or magic. But within the palace, everyone knew the truth. Traoré summoned his intelligence chief. "Investigate every kitchen staff member. Look into every delivery. Trace the money." "Yes, sir." He didn't sleep much that night. The image of the old woman still haunted him. Not because she frightened him, but because she had reached him in a way no one else could. The ring now sat in a box beside his bedside table. He had it tested by scientists. No technology explained the visions or the smoke. The gem was ordinary, they said, but to him, it was sacred. His wife believed the witch would return. Traoré wasn't so sure. She had done what she came to do. Saved him, exposed the traitors, and disappeared like mist. He ordered a new kitchen team and rotated his personal staff. Loyalty had to be earned again from scratch. Weeks passed. The daughter's birthday was remembered not just for the joy, but for the miracle no one dared speak of. Traoré's grip on power grew stronger, not by fear, but through mystery. People whispered that spirits guarded their president now. Some said the witch was an ancestor. Others believed she was a forest spirit sent by the earth itself. No one knew for sure, but Traoré knew one thing. He had seen death and survived it, and he would never forget who saved him. Months after the incident, Traoré found himself watching the faces in crowds. At events, parades, meetings, he scanned for a glimpse of her. That familiar old woman with dusty feet and eyes of fire. She never appeared again. But sometimes, at night, he would wake suddenly and smell smoke, not from fire, but from the ring. It would glow faintly, like it remembered. He would sit up, waiting, but no vision came. Just silence. Just the reminder that someone, or something, had decided his life was worth saving. He sent scouts into the forests beyond Ouagadougou, hoping to find her hut. They returned empty-handed. Villagers said an old woman once lived near the river bend, but she vanished many years ago. His wife suggested she might not be of this world. Perhaps she only walks in dreams. Traoré stopped eating food not prepared by his wife. The kitchen staff now worked under heavy supervision. Every item was inspected, but no one tried again. The message had been delivered. Traitors had been exposed, and a president had been marked for protection, not by bodyguards, but by forces unseen. The witch, wherever she was, had vanished into legend. But Traoré knew the truth. While in custody, the chef spoke more than anyone expected. He confessed everything in tears. "They told me, if I refused, they would kill my wife. My son. They knew where they lived. They showed me photos. They said it was either him or my family." Traoré listened silently. "I prayed for a way out," the chef said, shaking. "But when I saw that you stopped eating, I thought you suspected. I was ready to run." The driver confessed too. "I didn't believe in the poison. I thought it was a bluff. They offered me $10,000. Said it would be enough to escape to Ghana. I didn't know they meant to kill you." Both men were sentenced under the law. The chef's family was relocated for their safety. But Traoré never forgot their betrayal. He didn't hate them. He hated the system that allowed outsiders to threaten his people and turn them into weapons. To this day, Traoré still wears the ring, not out of fear, but out of memory. It remains a symbol on his hand, reminding him that not all battles are fought with guns. Some come in silence, with trusted faces and poisoned meals. The ring never glows again. Not with smoke, not with visions. But sometimes, when he holds it close, he feels warmth. And he remembers the voice of the witch in his dream. Do not eat in your house for 7 days. That voice, that woman, saved his life. And as long as he breathes, he will never forget her. The witch who came in a dream and changed his fate forever.